Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
I think he'd be the first to tell you he had a lot to work with. That would be Jeff Byers. Safe to say, Jeff, you had a lot to work with?
Well, I'm telling you, a whole lot to work with. Just truly a remarkable team, and the program just keeps building upon its success, and it really was just a truly remarkable weekend in Detroit.
This is how I phrased it yesterday, Jeff. I said, everybody's going all these platitudes and so forth. I said, back in the 2000s, Russ Rose had won 4 consecutive national championships and ended up, it was all said and done, winning 7.
Yep.
And I said, they're not just the best women's volleyball program in the country. They're the best program, period, in intercollegiate athletics. I said, now today you can say that, and have been able to say that Penn State Wrestling for years. They're not just the best wrestling program in the country. They're the best intercollegiate athletics program, period, in the country. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think just based on the numbers, yes. And I think, it's interesting when you go back through the years in wrestling. I mean, that there was, Oklahoma State has had a couple of runs of complete dominance. Iowa obviously had its huge run in the 80s, in particular under Gable. And, I would put this dynasty by Penn State right up there with the best of the Gable years and the best of the two most significant Oklahoma State runs in terms of just overall performance. What has happened here, and it was funny, Steve, because there were a lot of people saying after that 2014 season that, okay, now Penn State's going to come back to earth, and we'll see what happens from here on out. Well, after, Ohio State won it in 2015, 5 of the last 6 tournaments now, Penn State has had 5 wrestlers in the finals. It is rare to have a team in a decade get 5 to the finals. Penn State's done it 5 times in the last 6 tournaments. And the year that they didn't, they went 4 for 4 in the NCAA finals. I mean, it's just silly, the numbers that Penn State's putting up right now.
It is, and I believe they've won a minimum of 9 consecutive finals, and I think 18 of their last 21. Actually, I think it's 11 straight. 11 straight, okay, because it would go back. I didn't know, because I knew they'd won 4 last year, 5. I didn't, thinking about if they won the last 2 that they were in the last time,
They did, in 2019. So, I mean, that's, again, when you look at the overall numbers are obviously impressive, but when you start looking at what Penn State has been doing in the semifinals and the finals, against, obviously, at that point, the very best of the best. It is, obviously a tremendous credit to the individuals involved, but, there's no question that Cale Sanderson and Cody Sanderson and Casey Cunningham have just a really good formula working right now for how to get these guys to perform at their best in the NCAA championships.
When you are in that position, and I'm looking at this at a football and men's basketball point of view for the moment, people will look at not the head coach, but they'll look at the assistants, and they're the ones that are going to get the offers to be hired someplace else.
Yep.
Yeah. And let's take Arizona, for example. They went to Gonzaga. They got Tommy Lloyd. Okay, so we'll use that as a prime example. Okay. What has the stability of the staff meant to the continued results?
To me, Steve, I really think it has been everything. And that's not to say that there's no way Cale Sanderson would be successful without those two, but the way that the degree of trust that they have in each other and the different roles that they accept and excel at within the coaching framework. And all 3 of them are, I would certainly throw Jimmy Kennedy in the mix, and before that, Jake Barner and Aaron Onspach before that. I mean, the volunteer assistant has been right in the mix as well. And I do think Jimmy Kennedy's given some kind of fresh enthusiasm to that coaching staff. But what they each do is really sit down after each season and evaluate, I think, very critically where they are and what they want to continue to work on as coaches, and then also taking a look at the overall picture with the team. And it's one of the things that all of the great coaches obviously have, that is there's not that satisfaction. Like Cal Sanderson wasn't coming home saying, all right, man, that's the way we do it. He was saying, all right, how do we figure out how next year we get not just 5 in the finals, maybe 6, maybe 7 in the finals? How do we get 10 All-Americans instead of only, and I use only in air quotes, 6? But that is the mindset is that they're just consistently looking ahead, trying to figure out ways to improve and how to help the kids on the team get better. And even the kids themselves, Steve, to win a national championship is obviously a big deal and very hard. But as anybody in any sport will tell you, repeating as champion is more difficult because everybody's gunning for you. Everybody's looking at all of the tape. I was talking at the NCAA social after the finals. What the 4 guys who repeated as champions did this year is, and I know a lot of people just kind of take it for granted. Oh, okay, they won. Of course they're going to win again.
No.
You've got to understand the caliber of coaches that are out there. When you look at the Michigan coaches and the Iowa coaches and Arizona State, all of these coaching staffs, they are great coaches, and they have great kids that are willing to learn and athletic and all of that, and they're all gunning for you. When you can prevail in a year like this where you had, all of the 6-year, 7-year kids coming back, that is really special stuff.
Yeah. No, look, Aaron Brooks beat Miles Amin. How about Carter Starachi? Those are 2 champions head-to-head.
No question.
It's hard to repeat. It's just hard to do it. You've got to be really good, or somehow, some way on the day you're not at your best, figure out a way to win. And I think everyone just assumes they're always at their best. They're not.
No, and that's the thing. And when you look, Steve, not just at this year's team, but what Cal and the program has been doing since 2011. And I know Cal preaches it all the time, but a lot of coaches preach it. But to be as consistent as this program and these teams have been, and the individuals within it, because you're right, there are days, it's just like any of us. You go to work and you're prepared and you have everything in order, and it just is a crappy day. For whatever reason, it just doesn't go your way, and it feels like things are kind of can be overwhelming, and we all have those days. But when you look at what a Nick Lee has done, and again, you go back over the years, all of the names that with Penn State Wrestling here under Cal, it's that consistency. It's not just that they're peaking in March; it's that they are day in and day out performing at a very high level, regardless of what all is going on in their lives. And like everybody else, they're all having different issues that they're facing, whether it's relationships, grades, family. It's everything else. And to be able to put that aside and just dial in on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, it takes a special kind of focus, and there's a reason that it isn't done very often. It is really hard to be that consistent and that successful for that long. And I've never seen anybody approach the sport of wrestling the way Cal and Cody and Casey do, and obviously I've never seen anything close to the level of consistent success.
Exactly. Cal has his. I tell people over and over again, you have no idea how easy and how great it is to talk to Cal and to listen to him. every conversation I have with them, I walk away, I feel I know a lot more about something, and at the same time, it's just done in just a very down-to-earth style.
Yep.
All right. I think you have much more contact with them than I do, but that's how I walk away every time.
Yeah.
And there's also a tone that I think he sets. And here's the tone I think he sets. You're competitive. He gets the best out of you, but it's not, quote, life or death. And I feel like, and this is from 30,000 feet, I feel like the Brands brothers are so intense, I feel like Iowa wrestles tight. That's from 30,000 feet. Okay? From 5,000 feet, what's your view of that?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, Steve. Is I do think there's a perspective here that, and again, others may preach it, but these kids really buy into. Listen, we're going to work our tail off. We're going to have fun. I mean, we're as much fun as you can have while working your tail off. But I mean, they do. They enjoy the sport. They love the grind. They love the competitive fire that the sport brings. But they also do understand that there's a lot of other things to life. And, as Cal pretty consistently says, I mean, this is important because of all the time and work that they're putting in. But at the end of the day, it is a sport. And whether you win, lose, everything goes exactly the way you want, nothing goes the way you want, you're going to go on and have all kinds of other experiences in life. And hopefully this sport and the lessons that you learn from it helps you in that. And I do think these kids, I know some of the other programs, I think, have some fun, kind of poking fun at Penn State. It's like, oh, yeah, you're having fun. That's because you're winning. Well, I would argue that they're winning because they're having fun, that they really are looking at it as an opportunity. And when they go to the Nationals, it's, yeah, hey, man, we only get 4, these days maybe some of them are getting 5 opportunities, but usually get 4 opportunities to compete in this tournament. Right. Why not go out and have fun and let the chips fall where they may? Again, it's not the end of the world, and I do think the pressure, not just at Iowa, but with some other coaches, is maybe a bit much. And I also think Penn State does a really good job at taking a look at the best approach for each wrestler physically. The injuries that Iowa has, listen, part of that is bad luck, and
no
Penn
doubt.
State has had some injuries over the years.
No doubt.
But Penn State has not had as many injuries as a lot of these other programs, and I would argue it's largely because they understand the need for recovery during the course of a week, during the course of a season, during the course of a year. And it's not just, hey, we're going to grind, and if you don't do well, then we're just going to run extra laps. No, if you didn't do well, it may very well be because you're a little fatigued. Let's take a look at maybe pulling back here for a couple of days, getting your legs back onto you. And the psychology part of it is a big deal. And I do think, Penn State does an unbelievable job of getting these guys to, again, go in with the idea that, yeah, this is an opportunity. It's not something life or death or any kind of real pressure. It's just, hey, we can go out and perform, test ourselves against the best in the country, and have some fun with it.
And how important has it been with that philosophy to say, hey, every once in a while, pull back. Every once in a while, give yourself a little bit of a break. Okay, now let's get back to work, and now we'll work. And then you talk about the injury element to it as well. What has been the remarkable ability? How important a role has that played in the remarkable ability to have them peak at the right weekend?
Yeah, it's huge, Steve. And every year, I think these guys look at least as fresh as any team out there.
Yeah.
And again, I really do think it goes back to the way they train and they taper down. And again, they go hard. Obviously, it's a physical sport. Nobody gets out of it, just like an NFL season. You're not getting to the end of the season feeling 100% and no aches or pains anywhere. But I think Penn State, overwhelmingly, their kids feel fresh. They look good, and they're just in a really good place mentally and physically each year at the Nationals. And to be honest with you, it starts, Steve, with this week, looking ahead toward next year's Nationals.
Yes, it does. Yep.
You know, those guys, the returning champions, they're not taking a week off here. They're going back in and they're practicing this week. And they're you know, it started Monday. And they're working on little things, and hey, this is something we think, man, you could take to another level next year. And these kids are buying into it. You know, they're not. Aaron Brooks isn't sitting around saying, "Man, look at me, 2-time national champ."
Yeah, right.
Hey, hot stuff. He's saying, "Hey, what can I work on? Let's see if we can improve some little things here, widen the gap going into next year." And obviously, a lot of these guys are also getting ready now for freestyle experiences here in the spring and summer too.
I think as Bill Belichick would say, "On to Tulsa." So
yeah, no, and that is it's. I mean, it really is. It's a workmanlike mentality, and all of the kids that are back next year are in the room this week, and just going about the daily routine of, hey, let's get a little bit better. Again, we'll have some fun. They'll do the dodgeball and all that stuff before practice, and then it's dialing in and start working on areas where we can improve and try to make ourselves better for next season.
Well, they couldn't ask for anybody better to chronicle it. Congratulations to you on another great Hall of Fame level tournament by you.
Yeah, it was a super fun tournament, not just from Penn State's perspective. Obviously, that was enjoyable, but I really thought this tournament, with all of the different guys, as we had talked about, Steve, with the COVID extra years and stuff, had a chance to be something special. And you know, you look at all of the upsets throughout the tournament, but those first couple of rounds in particular, it was a really exciting, fun tournament to cover.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, that's what I've said about basketball. Why is basketball the way it is this year with all the different quote upsets? Yeah. It's older.
Yeah.
It's older. There's only one team that's one and done. That's Duke.
Yeah.
So, same thing in wrestling. Hey, awesome work, Jeff. Always enjoy our talks, my friend. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Steve.